How many of you have had a wise adult speak into you some advice that was actually really helpful, that helped you grow or try something new in a new way or step out of your comfort zone? Imagine many of us have had adults step in ways that were positive, that were impactful, but sometimes an adult will step in and they'll provide advice that is helpful, but doesn't feel the most helpful. I remember coming on the heels of a breakup that didn't go very well and being in an environment where there was opportunities for future dating relationships and spending time with one individual in particular that met a lot of the right criteria of a potential girlfriend, except for the fact of just their faith and how they were growing close to God, but had all these other things. That just seemed like a good person. That, man, maybe if I spend enough time with them, I get them engaged in church enough, it'll end up working out. We can do so much good together. And I remember just having this thought, this kind of internal dialogue, and really even pursuing it to some degree. As I'm going down this road, an individual, a wise adult, somebody whose opinion I did care about, reaches out to me. Hey, can we grab coffee? So sure, fine, we go grab coffee, we're having coffee. We just starts with just some good conversation. He says, hey, tell me about this individual. Start unpacking it a little bit. He says, is that relationship going to help you go closer to God and where God is leading you? Well, probably not. And I had this conversation. I didn't want to. I mean, this person met all the rest of the criteria, you know, the looks, the personality, the interest. But this person was right. This mentor was right. This person gave wise advice that was a positive and didn't feel the best, but it was worth listening to. Even though I had some other friends, some other people speaking and said, hey, you really should go after this. You're so lucky. It's such a good opportunity. Eventually, I agreed. It wasn't the best. Kind of changed direction. It made me think that a lot of us have opportunities where people speak into us. Sometimes it's obvious that it's good advice, and sometimes it doesn't feel the best. We don't know exactly what to do. So before we talk about two individuals in the Bible that have this almost a wrestling or this dynamic, I want you guys to talk to each other. What is some of the best advice you've received from both a friend and from an adult? This question is going to come up on the screen. Talk about it with those that are around you. And then one of the leaders will prompt the make it clear picture. We're going to unpack the scripture behind this idea. Okay, so today we're talking about two guys. First, talking about Solomon, and we're talking about one of his sons, Rehoboam. Solomon, attributed as one of the most wealthy individuals of all times, attributed as one of the most successful leaders, kings of the Israel nations. Many people would say he's the wealthiest individual to ever live and the wisest individual to ever live. Towards the end of his life, he got greedy and there was some mistakes that he made, but he was an influential king. A king loved by many, the fourth king really of the nation, and everyone loved him, loved what he was doing, loved the prosperity he was bringing to the nation. And like I said, towards the end, there was some tensions, some turmoils, but overall, he was a great king who did some great things. Towards the end of his life, he ends up dying, and there has to be a successor. The successor of Rehoboam is entering into this nation that is in prosperity. There's money everywhere. There's resources everywhere. There's good structure. There's good leadership. There's good governance. This is yours. You would think that would be an amazing thing to step into. And in a lot of ways it was, but there were some tensions that Rehoboam had to observe. One of those tensions we can begin to just kind of read and unpack starting in 1 Kings 12, 3 and 4. The whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, your father had put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he has put on us, and we will serve you. This heavy yoke is referring to some of the taxations and forced labor that Solomon was requiring. Solomon's growing the nation rapidly, and he's doing that through the taxation, through the resources of the people, and through the work or the labor of the people, both willingly and forced. Like I said, towards the end, Solomon's not as liked as he used to be. And the people aren't asking for everything. They're not saying don't take it away. They're saying, can you reduce it and we'll follow you. Can we have a little bit of a break? Things are going well. Can you make it a little bit simpler? The world is just wondering, hey, can it just be a little bit simpler? Rehoboam was really smart. The very first thought he had is, let me approach the wise counsel. The ones who knew my father, the new way he did business, let me ask them their thoughts, their opinions, what I should do next. So, in verse 6, it says, Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. How would you advise me to answer these people? He asked. They replied, If today you will be a servant to the people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants. Basically saying, give them a break and they'll follow you everywhere. If you give them this one opportunity, then they're willing to go with you through the extra mile, through the distances. Give them this opportunity, and then they're going to go with you everywhere you want. Let them rest, and then they will follow you. It makes sense. But these are people he doesn't know. It does make sense, but it's not necessarily easy because it's different. It says, let me go talk to my friends, peers, people I've spent life with. So a few verses later in verses 10, it says, the young man who had grown up with him replied. So he's asking his friends, what do you think? These people have said to you, your father put a heavy load on us, but make our yoke lighter. Now tell them, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips, and I will scourge you with scorpions. By the way, the scorpions is referring to a particular type of whip that had all these burrs on the ends of it. Basically, Rehoboam's friends are saying, Solomon got everything he had because of the way he lived. If you want to lead, you just got to do more than your father did, not less. You just got to do more. You got to stand up higher, defend stronger. You do that, things will go out well. A few days later, one of Rehoboam's key leaders gets murdered. A new king is elected and a civil war breaks out. It's pretty clear in just a few days what happened when he didn't listen to the wise counsel. See, I think we don't just need good friends, we need wise adults too. We don't need good friends, we need wise adults too. Think about the world we're in right now. The events of the last couple of weeks, that if any level of engagement in school, social media, internet, anything of that you would have seen, just some of the events. You can pick any one, you can pick all of them. When we see that, when we talk about it with friends, and we should talk about these things. They're significant. Some of the things that you guys have seen on your phones, if you have social media, without even looking hard, are horrendous, and we should talk about them. We should have conversation about the things that we're observing, and we should do that regularly. We should also get the counsel of wise adults. We shouldn't just create an echo chamber or this idea of us like restricting to a small picture of what we're learning. We should bring other people into the conversation. Your youth leaders are certainly individuals that want to talk to you, but probably you have teachers and coaches, and maybe hopefully you have parents or other caring adults to say, I want to begin to engage this conversation with you. Isn't that we see Jesus model, where he brings that to the people, but he's encouraged other people, hey, find the people around you that can encourage you to speak into you that are a little bit further down the line, that have lived a little bit more life. In fact, it's really who Jesus is for all of us. Jesus is the most wise counsel. He just lives his life, and he challenges people. He defends people. He has conversations and debates. He lives this life, but really he's just providing wisdom, the best wisdom. He's the better Solomon. And towards the end of his life, he loves deeper instead of separates further. He's the better Solomon. He's the Solomon that wants to step in. He's the son of David, this lineage that wants to bring peace, wants to bring hope. In a world that looks broken, in a world that looks chaotic, in a world that's full of mess and full of tensions and full of questions, Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the one that lives this life, painting a picture of what it looks like to live right, and then does die. But he doesn't die because he gets old, but he dies because he's put to death. Because of the wise advice, the counsel, the leadership he's bringing into the world, people kill him. But unlike any person in all of history, he comes back to life. And when he comes back to life, he creates an opportunity for all of us to begin to live under the better wisdom, to have answers to our questions, to process things in new ways, and to have right relationship. You can accept that today. In a world of chaos, in a world of noise, in a world of uncertainty, in a world of confusion, in a world of darkness, Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the ultimate wisdom. If you're making a decision today, I would encourage you to talk to your leader. But then beyond that, for everyone, you made a decision today, talk to somebody so we can begin to give you wisdom, encouragement, steps to take. But then for all of us, what does it really look like to follow a good leader? What does a wise adult look like? Hopefully you guys have poster boards out. A leader can grab some poster boards with your groups. And I just want to encourage you to define what a wise leader looks like. Who is a wise adult is someone who blank. Brainstorm anything. A wise adult is someone who blanks. What does it look like to be a wise adult? If you can't think of any traits or characteristics off of your own mind, go back and think of some people that feel really wise, like Gandalf, right? Somebody I think is really wise from a movie or a TV show or a book, and describe that person. Take some time, write them out, and we're going to use some of these pieces and our Make It Happen segment in just a little bit. Take some time, do the exercise, and I'll come back up and close it out and make it happen. Okay, hopefully you have some really good action steps, some really good points, some really good ideas that you've written down. I'm excited to even kind of hear what you describe as a good leader, a wise adult, as someone who is blank. You don't need just good friends, you need wise adults too, but what do we do with the wise adults in our life? First, we decide to learn from wise adults. We decide to learn from people. You can have really wise people in your life, but you never listen to them. You don't learn from them. You don't sit in space with them. It doesn't impact. Growing up, I was in elementary school and I would go kayaking with these group of these retired individuals that most of them worked in law firms or for politics. And I learned more about how the world works through just listening to these individuals talk than I did in any level of school ever. I was just in a space where I was learning from wise people. With this individual who gave me this dating advice and said, hey, I'm not sure if it's right, I was learning a perspective, a shift. By knowing people that are a little further along, you can just learn more. In a world right now that's super chaotic, that's super broken, that's super confusing, and you can talk to people around you and you just get this kind of same picture, this same bounce. It doesn't really make sense, but it's including somebody a little bit further down the line. You can get a different perspective. They might not even agree with you, but you can learn a little bit more how to think, a little more how to process, a little bit more how to even just go by just choosing to learn, deciding to learn from wise people that are a little bit further along, and then decide to listen. I know, revolutionary, but it matters actually to actually listen so you can learn a bunch, but if you don't listen, nothing changes. Man, I feel like we live in a space where so many people are just so focused on themselves. And if you want to follow Jesus well, if you want to grow in wisdom, learn to both learn and listen. To actually do something with the things that you learn. You might know a lot about the Bible. Learn to listen to it. You might have people that are speaking positively in your life. Learn to listen to it. Sure, make sure other people are saying the same things, but actually listen and you will look different. When you want to encounter Jesus personally in your life, you want to know who Jesus is, learn to listen. Learn to learn and then learn to listen. Your life will look different. There will be a shaping moment when you learn to listen, when you learn to apply what is happening. You're going to miss out on opportunities if you miss out on listening. You learn first, you listen, and you apply. Those are just the steps of taking the wisdom in the world and then beginning to apply it. This helps you to prevent some of the things that have happened historically, but it also helps you to just learn the new perspective of your world. I believe that the world you're living in is very different than the world that people further along than are listening. Culture changes rapidly today, but there's things that are unchanging, that if you begin to apply in your life and apply to your life will look different. Your school will look different. Your family will look different. Remember, wise adults are there to help you, not control you, but to help you become the person God has created you to be. They've lived enough life. God's worked in their heart enough that they can speak into your life in a way that you cannot on yourself, because they have a little bit more perspective. It's one of the greatest opportunities we have to tap into the people around us that have influence, and a little bit further down. That's my encouragement for you. Who are the people around you that you can learn from, listen to, and then apply what they're saying? During our last activity, I want you to take an index card and write out a few of the ideas from the board that most practically apply to you. These are the characteristics that I care about. And then to kind of discuss what they are, and then identify who in your life already meets those characteristics. And how can you have a conversation about being a little bit more intentional about learning and listening from those people? You do that, you come back next week, you talk about that. There's going to be a shaping that happens in your life that's significant, that's meaningful, that's life-changing. I'm believing in the power of people a little bit wiser speaking into you, and how it's going to impact the way you live your life, the way your faith begins to show up, and the way that God shows up through your faith. Appreciate you guys. Excited for what God is doing.